publishers and writers in fines and huge court costs. Doug Collins was a popular columnist for the BC North Shore News. He incurred several $100,000 in legal fees and a $2,000 fine, primarily because he questioned in print the accuracy of the 6 million figure of the Holocaust. The North Shore News is now forbidden to publish his work. Yet more powerful legal tools may soon be coming to the aid of provincial police. Police told me broader, stiffer legislation is imminently expected to come down from Ottawa. Such will greatly empower provincial police to prosecute persons charged with hate crimes. We should be aware that B'nai B'rith Canada and the Canadian Jewish Congress were never really satisfied with the federal hate statute, Section 319. Since it became law in 1971, they have pressured the government that it be toughened and expanded. In response, in 1995, the Attorney General of Ontario, in a speech to the Canadian Jewish Congress, reported that the Ontario provincial government is pressuring the federal government in Ottawa to 1. Make membership in hate organizations a crime, 2. Expand what is considered an identifiable group under the law, and 3. Eliminate the defense of truth for those charged with hate crimes. In an article in the Canadian Jewish News, B'nai B'rith Canada supports the Attorney General of Ontario and is reported as saying that not only should denial of the Holocaust become a crime, but hate mongers should no longer be allowed to use the defense of truth in court. What is this tough new legislation which police in Calgary and Vancouver are eagerly anticipating? The Police Hate Crimes Unit in Toronto gave me the answer. Their spokesperson told me that at present no new legislation is actually before Parliament. However, in the last several years there has been a flurry of conferences and proposals on how to toughen Canada's anti-hate law. I was told that B'nai B'rith Canada has recently sponsored a very large international conference. Representatives from police hate units from all over Europe came to Canada. Their purpose was to assist B'nai B'rith in making Canada's anti-hate statutes as advanced as Europe's. This police representative said that police from Germany were prominent participants in the B'nai B'rith conference. You should be aware that in Germany, if anyone, including American citizens, are even overheard in private conversation, questioning the accuracy of the 6 million figure, they can be harshly fined and imprisoned. Yet this Toronto hate crime specialist told me B'nai B'rith is uneasy about taking Canada's hate law too far, too soon. Although B'nai B'rith is eager to protect homosexuals under Section 319, it fears a backlash which could actually repeal Canada's hate law altogether. This Toronto police authority also made several references to a proposal in late 1998 by Canada's 10 provincial attorney generals and the Canadian Solicitor General. This proposal would 1. Criminalize all so-called hate literature that is meant for distribution. 2. Allow police to seize computer hard drives which contain alleged hate material. 3. Make truth no longer a defense for Holocaust revisionists. 4. Include homosexuals as a protected group under Section 319. Proposals such as this have not yet been placed before Parliament. Yet if they are, and are passed, police can immediately prosecute anyone who publicly criticizes the homosexual lifestyle or distributes literature that does. This means the collision of Canadian law and Christianity. While the true Christian never threatens physical harm to anyone, the Christian's duty is very much to alienate people, not only from homosexuality, but from abortion, pornography, witchcraft, child molestation, and so on. This means that if the Canadian Federal Code soon includes protection of homosexuality from criticism, public opposition to that identifiable group will become a hate crime. Anti-hate laws are thus anti-Christian laws. They are a demonically clever scheme to intimidate and eventually silence Christianity. One bright spot in Section 319 of the federal law has been the provision that if what the accused alleges is true, he cannot be found guilty of a verbal hate crime. Yet police in the anti-hate units of both Vancouver, BC and Calgary, Alberta, told me that for practical purposes they do not consider truth to be a defense for one charged with the crime of hurtful speech. Rather, police will do their best to prove in court that the person charged did intend to damage the feelings or reputations of members of an identifiable group. Proof of such intention to hurt means conviction. Truth does not matter.
With such a motivationally based justice system in place, Canada's new anti-hate tribunals have, during the last decade, lost little time in finding victims. Yet Canadian thought police did not begin by going after persons whom society would rally to support. Rather, they indicted those least in public favor. And who are they? Holocaust revisionists, those who question whether a full 6 million Jews were killed by Nazis during World War II. We should understand that virtually all Holocaust revisionists agree that Hitler hated, persecuted, and even killed many Jews. Yet revisionists usually put the numbers of Jews deliberately killed by the Nazis in the hundreds of thousands, not millions. They contend the evidence shows much greater numbers of Jews were killed as a result of war, famine, and epidemics in internment camps than as a result of deliberate murder. Yet the figure of 6 million is a virtual article of faith for B'nai B'rith Canada and the Canadian Jewish Congress. As a result, those organizations have relentlessly pressured the Canadian Human Rights Tribunals to prosecute revisionists for publicly questioning the 6 million figure. Usually, revisionists have lost in court, and by losing, precedent has been established in Canadian law that questioning the 6 million figure is definitely a violation of Section 319, a hateful and hurtful act. With criminal convictions of those who doubt the 6 million figure comes chilling possibilities that Christians are also in violation of the federal code. Surely questioning numbers in the Holocaust is not as bad as describing another identifiable group, homosexuals, as evil and perverted. Yet that is exactly what the Bible instructs Christians to believe and teach concerning sodomy and those who practice it. As one of many biblical examples, Leviticus 18:22 says, "You shall not lie with a male as one lies with a female. It is an abomination."
Are Christians, by their fundamental anti-gay stance, now in violation of Canada's anti-hate laws? I asked that question to the Federal Police Authority in Ottawa, Sergeant Murray Knowles. He told me that since homosexuals are not as yet included in Section 319's definition of a federally protected group, Christians can still criticize homosexuality. But I got a different story when I talked to the head of the anti-hate unit in Calgary, Alberta. He clearly considered anti-homosexual speech to be hateful and hurtful, and would do his best to see it prosecuted. If gays are not specifically protected under the federal law, how can such provincial police make anti-homosexual speech a hate crime? In British Columbia, the police anti-hate spokesperson told me that if someone were verbally humiliating homosexuals, the police would try first to convict that person on harassment charges. Once convicted, another federal statute, Section 718.2, passed by Ottawa in 1996, would kick in. It allows police to define such anti-gay harassment as a hate crime. Section 718.2 makes intention to intimidate an aggravating circumstance. which boosts the penalty for such a biased crime. Section 718.2 also protects victims of bias-motivated crimes, such as homosexuals, under the full benefit of the federal hate law, Section 319. These include stiffer fines and more jail time than if such harassment had not been motivated by a desire to humiliate. One of the reasons it was so easy to make Holocaust revisionism a thought crime in Canada was because the feelings of a clearly identifiable group under Section 319, the Jews, were hurt. Yet there is much in the teachings of the New Testament which the Jews over the centuries have considered much more hurtful than denying the numbers of the Holocaust. For the past 2,000 years, most Jews have bitterly resented the charge that the Jewish nation killed Jesus Christ.